What up? It's Golden Spaces, an Odyssey original podcast, typically with Justin and Nat, but not tonight because Justin spared himself. He spared himself of talking about the Dubs tonight and left me to do it on my own. And so I brought a crew of people with me. And if you are a legacy All Nat listener, you already know some of them. If you tuned into Golden Spaces when we actually were on Twitter, you know some of them. And if you still don't know them, you should get to know them because they are three great basketball minds who I love to chop it up about hoops with. So I invited them to come on. So at the top on my right, if you're watching on YouTube, we have Jason Battle. He is, first of all, for like the old heads and the people who've been around for a minute, he kind of started this podcast game as a Warriors fan. So shout out to Jason. He goes back with Sheed from Warriors World and a whole bunch of people. So always an honor and a privilege to have him on. And then we have my girl Nana down below who's recovering from eye surgery. So it's not her just being fly with the Mary J glasses, but she is recovering. So we wish you well and hope you're good. But definitely appreciate you coming through to come on and chop it up with us. Mm-hmm. And then last but certainly not least, my guy in the bottom right corner, if you're looking on your screens, but Chris from HoopSpaces. And I'm gonna let Chris, before we get started, tell y'all a little bit about HoopSpaces. He is making a name for himself in this basketball talk and game, and he like had this whole big Twitter spaces, and we come together every morning, and now he's leveled up and he's with AMP from Amazon and continuing to do big things. So right now, if you don't know Chris, get to know him, follow all of these great people, but Chris is blowing up. He's blowing up. So I'm happy I still get to keep his company. So Chris, Nana, and Jason, welcome to the show. But Chris, let's just start with you really quickly and tell folks about HoopSpaces.
I love how you are treating me like I treat you when you come in. Thank you for the wonderful introduction. Shout out to all the listeners of Golden Spaces, one of the best Golden State Warriors pods and actually just conversations you can have, period. And that's actually what HoopSpaces is. Like most people, I'm kind of tired of the big box names. Like, we get it. It's so thick that we already know what the narrative is going to be by the time it already hits our Twitter feed. So if you want something a little bit different, more substantive basketball, check me out. It's at HoopSpaces on Twitter, but we moved over to AMP, which is powered by Amazon. We'll be building up a better community over there so we can get some good basketball talk. So that's all it is. If you got one of those smart devices, you can just say, "Hey, Alexa, play HoopSpaces," and it'll hook you up. 10 a.m.
Yeah, download AMP and think of HoopSpaces like radio, but that you can participate in, know? So it's definitely a cool thing. But all right, let's get started. Unless Nana and Jason, do y'all want to tell the people about yourself?
I just want to say, Chris, I don't want to include y'all. I just want to say, Chris, man, it's an honor to meet you, bro.
It's the first time we've seen each other face to face, but I appreciate it, Jason, man. I'm a fan. I know you don't agree with some of my controversial takes. It's okay, though.
No, it's your food takes that I don't agree with.
Yeah, Chris has awful food takes, and we won't get into
avocado ice cream is that got to go.
What are you, Tom Brady?
Nah, but avocado ice cream is real good.
I mean, honestly, though, it might be more interesting to talk about his crazy taste in food than the Warriors right now. All right, so let's dig in, and we're gonna actually be talking about both games collectively, both games as in the back-to-back that the Warriors are just on. So the Hawks and the Memphis Grizzlies tonight. Okay, so earlier in the game, I was watching the game, and Jason and Nana are both Warriors fans. Okay. And all because lifelong for Jason. I'm not sure if that's the case for you, Nana. Forgive me, I don't remember. But I say that because I've since we've been put on 95.7 The Game's YouTube channel, I've had some people calling me out, and they said they can't stand me because I'm a bandwagon fan, and they're going in on me, and I was just like, bro, like I've never professed to be a lifelong Warriors fan, but I'm also not a bandwagon, like not in the true sense. I've been with this team before they started winning championships, like that is for sure. Regardless, I just don't really need to police fandom, but just to say, like, Jason is lifelong and he fucks with me, so you know what I'm saying? Like, people get over it. So lifelong Warriors fan. Yeah, lifelong Warriors fan. And Nana, who's also like, she's in Mini now, but well, I don't know where she is actually physically. She's moved, but she's also from the Bay. So 2 Bay Area natives.
In Cali right now too. Huh? Just down south Cali right now.
Okay. So I don't know how y'all are feeling, but for me, it's like I will criticize the team, and you know, Jason, you will too, Nana, you will too. And I don't know where you guys stand right now. I sort of know, Jason, I've been seeing what you've been saying. So, but as much as I criticize them, it's like criticizing fan for me. I'm still riding with them. So like, I will go through this podcast tonight and talk about all my thoughts, and we'll still tell you that you're going to see the Warriors in this year's finals, right? And Chris and I talked about it a little bit earlier this afternoon, and some people think I'm crazy. They just think I'm being a homer, which is funny because I'm not from the area, but you know, they just think like I'm so biased, but I genuinely believe that. And I'd like to talk about why I believe it, but I'm curious to know, Nana and Jason, before we even just get into these games, what is your current state on the team right now? Like, how are you feeling about this?
Ladies first.
Yeah. Sorry about that. My little troll came in. The question you asked was like, can you repeat that for me real quick, Nat? Can you repeat the question for me, Nat?
I just want to know what you think the Warriors' ceiling is.
What do you
think the Warriors' ceiling is? Do you still?
I think the road is so difficult for us right now. And I don't know. I personally think a lot of that is mentally, and is like them just getting in their own way, making their own mistakes. I mean, like, I know you watched today's game. Like, some of these mistakes aren't like, oh my God, we have to figure out like high IQ play. It's just literal common sense mistake happening on the road. And so I tweeted yesterday about like some 6 Infinity Stones that the Golden State Warriors had, you know, and if you looked at them, it was like defense, rebounding, cutting, defense, shot making, and I forgot the last one. There's one more. And rebounding, yep. And I think we were down. I say we only probably elite on 2 out of the 6. And if we can get it up to like 4 out of 6, and one of them has to be defense. Like, defense cannot be optional. And I know we have the skill set to play defense, and a lot of that does come with us missing guys. So I am aware of that. But for the most part, when you ask me for the ceiling, like if they can get a couple of more road wins and then sweep the home games left and finish with a 43-44 record, I think that's their ceiling. And initially I had them at 45 wins for the season, but it's looking like they can't even get a road win. And we've got like how many left? Maybe 6.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's getting tough. Maybe if we get GP2 a little sooner than we expect him to come back, I don't know, a little spark, whatever it is that's going on with them. Not particularly a big fan of Steve Kerr, but that's another story for another day. And just figure something out within the team. I think our ceiling can really be 45, 46 wins. And then as far as our low, you know, I don't even want to go there because I don't like thinking negative, but we already see it right now on the road. Can we figure out how to get some wins out of those 6 games, 3 or 4 of those games on the road? If we can, then I have our ceiling all the way up there because it'll just turn us up all the way. Because towards the end of the season, you can also factor in teams that want to rest more, tanking, like officially tanking in the end. So not too worried about competition towards the end, the last 4 or 5 games. Is these next 6-7 games. Can we get a 4-2 record or a 5-2 record towards the end? Then we should be good. But it's about when can we turn that corner. And we're running out.
And what do you think, Jason?
The ceiling obviously is championship, right?
But do you believe that's still possible?
Hell yeah.
Okay.
So, but the caveat right, is everybody's healthy, right? Or
there, present.
everybody's available.
Yes, because Andrew is not unhealthy, but he's not present.
If Andrew Wiggins is not part of the team in the playoffs, we're not winning nothing.
Agreed.
That's just bottom line. We need him.
Yes.
We can't win without him. Period.
Just Andrew?
And GP2 as well.
So do you think we could win with Andrew and not GP2 there?
I think that we could win if Andrew's there at 100%. I think we could win with him and without GP2. But I think if both of them are there in rhythm, I think we're favorites because I believe in their potential defensively that much. I think they're game changers. They're not just players.
And it's not even potential. We watched it. We know what they can do. So this is not about
Exactly. So yeah, that's my take. With them, we're winning it all. Without them, we're not winning, Nathaniel.
Well, just so I can understand, are you saying if Andrew by himself is there, we're not winning? It needs to be both, right? GP2 and Andrew.
So I think we can win with only Andrew and not GP2, but with both of them, I believe that it's 100%.
Yeah, I feel the same.
Yeah, I think our chances are very low, only because we need both of them. Only because I think some of our core, like especially Draymond, has not been the same. I don't think we'll be there. And then you also got to add in, I don't even think Steve Kerr has been the same. Like he's been out of control of these rotations. I don't think Jordan Poole has been the same. Like with that, when you factor that in, like unlike last season, like I'm not even talking about all these other extra players we lost or all that we got. I'm purely talking about the guys we rely on every single day have not been the same. So for me, if Andrew returns, like he has to get in shape too. You're forgetting he's been gone for a while. He has to get back in shape. Is a lot that's to come in. And then on top of that, you're going to need Steph to do historical things, generational things, more generational than he did last season to overcome, which is why the GP2 thing is just to take that little margin of error and just shrink it a little bit. Increase it, so that we have some breathing room.
And Chris, you're an outsider, so I know. What do you think? I want to know what you think because I saw some tweets from you, and you're like, "Oh, the Warriors are just like." I don't know if you said trash or bad, but I don't remember.
I said that.
And you may have been exaggerating or being hyperbolic in the way that you do, but you're here. So let me know what you think.
The Warriors are in their swan song season. And last year's championship very well may be the last championship. At least for this iteration of what the Warriors are. Right? Like this is the ugly truth. This is a combination of father time and a mistake by the front office. They try to rectify the mistake by trading James Wiseman to regain Gary Payton II. If you don't get him and Andrew Wiggins, zero chance. Zero. Wow. If you get Andrew Wiggins back, I still wouldn't even put you as the favorites. You're not playing well enough on the road to be considered the favorites. And right now at the 7th seed, you're going to have to steal a game away on the road. And like, to me, it's very reminiscent of the 80 Celtics when Detroit came up and they were just better. Like the Celtics were still a great team.
The other teams aren't better. And that's I think that's what I'm disputing. So this is the reason why I think the Warriors are still contenders, can still go all the way. And Chris and I talked about this a little bit earlier. So like Kevin Durant is hurt right now. And all I hear people saying for the Suns is, man, when KD comes back. But they never do that with the Warriors. And neither does our own fan base. So we are the only team that when we are losing with our key guys missing a bulk of the games, that people still expect us to win. And if we don't, we're evaluated as such. So no, we're not winning on the road. But Andrew Wiggins hasn't been there for most of those games. And Steph Curry missed a large chunk of them. So they're not going to win on the road. You know, you're not going to win a game when Draymond and Andrew Wiggins, who plays arguably the most important position in the league, is out. You need people on the wings. Like, it's just not going to happen. And I don't actually think this year's team, honestly, there are differences. But this year's team is not drastically different than last year's team. And what I mean by that is, if they would have started this season with like the first 15 games at home, they would have had a nice cushion, just like they did last year. And when the injuries came, they would have been able to sustain that cushion. The Warriors were a 500 team last year once people started going down. And I heard all the same shit from everybody. Oh, I don't know. Maybe it was fake. What they did in the beginning of the season wasn't real. It was literally the same talk. It's like, because people hadn't seen it since the beginning of the season, then they didn't believe that they could do it. And it was Clay's first full year back and all this. Now we just watched them win a championship. And I hear everybody saying they got to show you again that they can do it. Like, I don't think this is as complicated as everyone is making it seem. They have missed players, and when you miss players and different people are playing different roles every night. When Jordan Poole is starting one week, then he's off the bench another week, then he's asked to be more like Steph one day, then he's asked to attack, that's a lot to ask of a young player, right? His role is not defined consistently in this team, okay? As much as I love Loon, he is not meant to be playing all the minutes he is playing, right? Like, you're just not going to get Steph, Dre, and Clay to care about the regular season in this way. They didn't even look like they cared about this game tonight. At this point, all these guys want to do is just get in as a 6 seed or higher. That's it. They don't care. I think the season, and like, it's just been so taxing on them mentally, like, to try to like make some huge run right now and prove something, I don't think matters to them. I think once the postseason starts, it's a new season. What they didn't do before doesn't matter. And of all these teams, they are the only team that has a history of always winning a game on the road. They only got to win one game on the road, guys. That's it. They don't have to win a bazillion games on the road. They are the only team that has the history of doing it. So that's great that you have faith in all these other teams that have better records. But the thing is, in the postseason, teams game plan for you. They actually take the time to game plan for you. And it's very different. What they do in the regular season doesn't just translate over to the postseason. And so it might be the Warriors' swan song. It may be their last year. I won't believe it until I see a team beat them 4 times. But I just think there's a lot being made of the Warriors' record and their struggles without people like actually looking at what is happening and why they're losing. In most of these games, they're in it. Like, these teams are not just bullying over them and steamrolling them. Like, even tonight, if you looked at this final score, you would think like that's what happened because it just got away at the end, but it wasn't. It was a 1-point game.
It's not about bullying,
just like last night in Atlanta. But it does matter, because my point in saying that is they're in these games with these teams missing some of their key guys. So if they're in these games with these teams, and let's take out the Grizzlies because they don't have Ja Morant, but they're playing all these other teams and they're right there with them, and then you see like the settling for shots at the end. To me, that's what I saw. That's the signs of like a tired team. It's an old team. They don't feel like going for it. Like, do you really truly think Stephen Curry, Draymond Green, and Klay Thompson, take everyone else out, do you really think they truly have forgotten how to close games? Do you really think after winning all those championships and just winning that they really don't know it's best to attack and drive versus going for threes? Do you really look at that?
I don't, but I don't need to know that. The issue isn't whether we know they know how to do it. The issue is the other teams aren't afraid any longer.
But who cares?
They don't have.
But they weren't winning because other teams were afraid of them. They're winning because they're better. And I just don't believe you're correct. Like, I don't think other teams do not fear them. Like, they can go in there and think the Grizzlies talk like they don't fear them. And then what happens? Like, it doesn't, like, I don't care if teams fear them or not. The point is they have superior talent than the other teams, right? In many of these series, Steph is going to be the best player on the court. So the Grizzlies, they should fear the Warriors, but they don't. And that's why they always get embarrassed when it comes to a series, right? They've won their 2 games at home, and the Warriors have won their 2 games at home. And by the way, they won it without Steph Curry being there. They embarrassed them on Christmas Day. They've embarrassed them multiple times.
I get
so
that.
They don't, like, who cares? Don't fear them. And you still get embarrassed when you don't fear them. Fear them and you still lose. Like, fear is not irrelevant. It's talent. It's talent and ability, not fear.
Well, it's talent and ability, but that talent and ability has to rise to the moment. And then oftentimes what happens when you have a dominant team, and the Warriors have been a dominant team. The Spurs were a dominant team. The Lakers and Kobe were a dominant team. Every time you go back and get this dynasty with a dominant team, teams that play them, even really good teams, they can't get over that mental hurdle of beating this dominant team. That is an essence of a fear. Now, they don't want to label it as a fear, but if you sat down and talked it out with a counselor, that is a fear. They don't have that any longer.
They do.
They can say, we're going to take the
and I don't agree with you on that.
We haven't seen that in the playoffs yet.
You see how teams show up every time the Warriors come to town? There's literally no evidence that they don't fear the Warriors. Shea was out. I tell you, any other team, he's not coming back from his injury, but he comes back to play. Like, this always happens with teams. They're locked in. They're dialed in for the Warriors. If they're not a real threat anymore and you don't take them seriously, why do you get stuff like that? Why do the Boston Celtics in Boston play Jason Tatum for almost the entire game if you don't fear the Warriors? I was there. I was talking to Al Horford, and they were like, man, this is a great team. Like, we really needed to get this. We wanted this. The players are not saying what you're telling me. And
I get that, but we just watched Jaren Jackson Jr. just steamroll his shoulder into your chest with zero hesitation. And this is a dude who's not a jam player.
Why wouldn't he do that? Like, he sees smaller players on him. He sees Jonathan Kuminga on him. Like, he's not going to be afraid of those guys. But the fear is not about him being afraid of Jonathan Kuminga. It's about when it's 2 minutes in a game, 1 minute in a game, and it's tight, and they start seeing Stephen Curry and Clay do what they do. Can they match that? It's about saying, do you really trust Desmond Bane to step up and do that in those moments? Do you believe that Aaron Gordon, this guy who y'all claim to be an all-star this year, is going to step up and do those things? Okay, that Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray are not going to get picked on. Like, you're talking about them being fair. Like, this is not about fearing the Warriors. The Warriors are more talented. They are better. They are better. Even if they have not showed it and played it, they are better and they have the experience. The only time the Denver Nuggets have ever succeeded in the postseason was in the bubble. We've never seen them do anything outside of the bubble.
This is why I compared them to the 80 Celtics. Because this is exactly what they said about the 80 Celtics until Isaiah Thomas and the Detroit Pistons came in and proved everybody wrong.
Did the 80 Celtics have their players missing a majority of the season?
Well, yeah, at that point, yeah, throughout the season they had.
Did they have the best player in the NBA?
Larry Bird was arguably top 3.
He wasn't the best.
Well, Steph Curry's arguably not the best this season.
He is the best player.
No. Arguably this season, he's not.
Chris. Why is he not? He's averaging 30 on 50, 40, 90.
Hold on. Before he went out.
Better defense than he has in his career. This is literally 2016, but he hasn't played many games. If he played at least 60 games, he's running over the MVP this year. You know that. It's just that health is the reason that Steph is not.
I don't even care about the MVP award.
And team record. I'm just saying his argument of he's not the best player in the NBA this year.
That's fine. That's subjective. And then people
I have a question. For Chris.
Yeah.
Chris, before Steph went down with that injury to his shoulder, was he not the best player in the league?
I had him like at 2 or 3, to be honest.
Okay, but he was up there, in your opinion. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. That's all I wanted to.
Had he stayed healthy, your argument of him being the MVP would come down to narrative, but I think he would be up there, yes. But in this season, he's just not, because he didn't play enough games.
Okay, so what you're not saying is that he's not the best player. You're saying he didn't play enough games to be the
correct.
player.
And that's the point that I wanted to get to.
Yeah,
right.
yeah, that is what I'm saying.
At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. In a series, he's still the best player on the court in most series, and most teams don't have a player that can match that same level.
Correct. 100%. The only two dudes are in the Eastern Conference.
So that's what I'm saying. So, like, first of all, you always, to me, like, I guess what I'm saying is, I don't think this road record thing is a real thing, right? And this is why I'm going to say that. Because it's like people who believed last year that Steph was declining because he had an extended shooting slump, worst of his career. And there were legitimately people saying, like, it happens, it starts to happen. And there were people like me who were saying, y'all are fucking stupid. He's not in decline. And he came back and did it. And what I'm trying to tell you is this whole road record thing is not real. The Warriors just did not wake up this season and forget how to win on the road, right? That's not what happened. When you... Like, they did take a hit with losing certain players, right? But Dante, I always said Dante it's not a direct one-to-one, so I hate it when people compared him to GP2, but I was always comfortable with the Dante pickup. It's JaMychal who didn't pan out. It's not Dante, it's JaMychal, right?
We talked
and what people don't remember is Dante was hurt at the beginning of the season. So when and that's also when they were trying to do the Wiseman thing and go in on him. So when people, because if you remember, and still to this day right now, the Warriors starting five is the best starting five in the league by miles, by like substantially. So when people are just like, these other teams are better, where? Like the evidence doesn't even indicate that. We just haven't had our five players on the court. And so the reason why I'm saying it matters for purposes of the postseason, because we know they're only going 8-9 deep. Like you're not seeing two-way players in the fucking playoffs. You're not seeing all these guys. I know you're making a face about Lamb. You might see Lamb like you might see Lamb like the way you saw Belly. But my point is that he's not
Most Steve Curry seen in 30 minutes.
I don't think Lamb is going to get more minutes than Kuminga.
Lambda is definitely playing.
I don't think he's playing the way that, like, when I say he's playing, meaning like Belly saw some minutes in the postseason. He wasn't in every game. He wasn't a main key guy. That's what I'm saying.
Kurt thinks he's Boris Diaw 2.0.
But you're not seeing him like that. Their playoff rotation, assuming they have all their guys, is going to be Steph, Clay, Dre, Loon, Wiggs, right? So if they're healthy,
I saw that face.
I'm saying if they are intact, their starting five is Steph, Dre, Clay, Loon, Wiggs. That's their starting five, right? The rest of their rotation is Jordan, Dante, GP2, Kuminga. Those are your 9 main guys, right? And then Lamb will see some minutes sparingly. And if Andre would have still been there, Lamb probably wouldn't see minutes. He probably wouldn't even be on the team, which is like, and by the way, Andre might be back for the postseason. We don't know. So everything.
If we're gonna pin this on Andre, that's
no, I'm not.
No, she's not pinning it on.
I'm not pinning it on Andre. I'm just saying who they're rotating.
No,
but I'm just
messing. I'm just messing.
But please let me get at my point. So what I'm saying is that, like, those are the rotation guys. How many of those guys have even been here and played during this season? That's my point. So when you're evaluating the Warriors based on Lamb and Ty Jerome being out there and everyone playing out of position. And Dante talks about this. When I was over there and I asked him, what's the impact on the team when you have so many guys out? And he's like, the impact is a lot because guys are playing more minutes than they typically play. Guys are playing out of their position. They're having to do more, and that's exhausting, and that makes them tired, right? And so, but no, like, fans and people don't want to account for that. They're just like, no, they got to win. They look terrible. They look off, and it's annoying to watch. We're annoyed as fans to watch, but I'm just saying that is the reality. And so when you get to the postseason, it doesn't fucking matter what their record was in the regular season. Once you get to the postseason, it's a brand new season, and they're just like refreshed and and they're ready to go, and the 9 people who have to play on the court, they're ready to go. That's it. And so to me, it's doubt the Warriors at your own risk. Doubt. They love it. I love it. But I'm just saying, doubt the Warriors at your own risk, because all of these notions of them being done are based off of a team that has not been intact the entire season. The entire season. Now, if you say to me, I don't think they can do it because I don't believe they're going to have all their guys, that's a different thing. But y'all are just like, they're not good anymore. Are they not good, or have they just been missing players? And those are two different things.
Well, except when it comes to time, because we've already said you're going to require time for these players to get ramped up, to get back into their regular, roles. That's going to take time. And if you stay in the seventh.
You know who else said that? You know who else they said that about? They said that about Stephen Curry last year. Do y'all remember that?
They said that about last year. Steph, Clay, and Dre played how many games together last year?
See, I made the same argument that you guys were making last year.
Also, let me ask you, Chris. After 2019, what was the general consensus of the media? What was the general? It's over. They're never
absolutely.
Okay, and then
because you had
2020
the Clay
doubled down.
Injury, it was done.
2020 they doubled down, and in 2021 they said it's confirmed. Like 2021 they're like they're never ever going to be past a mid team. Then Clay returns, and they're finally a full team again. And then even that year, nobody gave him a chance last year. Nobody. Besides,
I actually did. Like I did. She'll say I hedged, but I did.
The mass majority.
No, he did at the beginning, and then he switched, and he wants to front like he didn't.
I did not.
Oh my God! And because you're gonna make me, because I save receipts, I'm gonna go back in our DMs and pull it. Because I was like, "What are you saying to me right now?" He's like, "Oh man,
it looked good, but I still said it. Like I called
one of these people, and Jason, you know this about me, because I was not a James Wiseman hater, but I also was not someone who thought he could help us right now. And Chris used to be
I'm a big James.
They got James Wiseman coming up, and I was like, okay, please. I wish y'all would stop with the James Wiseman thing. He's not coming back to help the team. And so last year, when it was announced that Wiseman wasn't coming back, Chris was just like, I don't see it, because you're not going to have Wiseman. And I remember saying, what? Like, and he's
100% said that.
And it did.
But after, did I change somebody else going to the finals? No.
But it doesn't matter. You said I just don't see it. So that means
for the winning. Like I thought you were gonna lose to Boston. Like why is that such a bad thing?
I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but your point did change. So no, you did not.
At the finals
the whole time. You switched views, and you're not going to get credit. I would have given you credit. I would, because he was with us the whole time. And then because James Wiseman wasn't coming back, he thought that they weren't going to go anywhere.
Why was James Wiseman your make or break?
We're not going to slander James Wiseman.
No, I'm not
because he
Wiseman. That's not the point. The point is that this is still about, all due respect to Chris, because I love his basketball mind, but this is about, to me, an old school approach to basketball where people kind of harp on size and what it means. And so I think for some people who just can't get past that, it's like, well, you need to have that person. And Chris and I were talking about this earlier today, and y'all can tell me if you disagree, but we all agree that the front court is thin. I think everyone on here agrees with that. But I'm saying the only team that's an issue for is arguably the Bucks. There's no other team that.
Sixers, probably.
And who?
The Sixers.
Oh, okay. Yes, that's fair.
So just the East.
He told me the Knicks earlier. He said they brought
what?
Yo, like you discount the Knicks at your own risk.
The what?
Like they control pace. They're top 3 rebounding team. Y'all keep saying who?
The Knicks?
Y'all keep saying who?
Say with your chest. Who are you talking about?
I said the Knicks. I said watch
out. The Knicks he's giving love to, but the Warriors.
All right, like I'm not. See, the thing is, like I didn't say the Knicks want to win the championship. I didn't say they're going to win the championship. What I'm saying is, like a lot of people discount.
All right, hold on, one at a time. Go ahead, Chris, and then
you think a team that's led by Julius Randle is going to stop us?
No, see, you're not. I never said they were going to win the championship. I said like a lot of people discounted the Knicks the entirety of the season, despite them getting demonstratively better.
But what is discounting them? What does that mean? You mean like just saying like Like, I don't think they'll make the championship. I don't think that's discounting them.
So to me, it's like discounting what they've done this season, right? It's like the same type of blind faith that the Warriors are just going to put it together for the playoffs. It's like it's discounting what they're doing right now.
It's almost insulting to suggest that's blind faith for 4-time champions, a team.
It's not, because it's this season.
Yes,
it's this season.
It's this season, but they have been doubted repeatedly many years. Even during the KD years, even other years, people are like, oh, the Rockets are going to take
7-29 on the road in any of those seasons. Like, it's not a problem until you come up against it.
This year, more teams than ever have losing road records or have lost more on the road than any other season, right? So either you think that's real or it's not. Like, at some point, we have to also understand that things change in the NBA. People rest guys. Guys don't care about it as much. That's just what it is. So is it really that this team has forgotten how to win games, or is it just some outlier weird thing? And
let me ask you this. Let's say it gets to the point where it's 3-0 now because you can't win on the road, and you got to win on the road. What are you going to do? Are you going to say you're going to run off 4 victories in a row?
Where would it be 3-0? It goes 2, then 2, then 2, then 2.
Well, I mean, if you get past the first round, like if it goes 2-2, they win the first 2. They get into Golden State, right? Because they're going to be the home team because you're the 7th seed, right? So, like, if you don't win one of the first 2 games, you go in 0-2. What if they take that 3rd game and now they're up 3-0? And you got to now win 4 games.
There's no team going up 3-0 on the Warriors. The Warriors have never, Steph has never gone less than 6 games in a series.
But that, again, that's not this season. That cannot happen this season.
No, it cannot happen this season. Steph Curry is the best player in the series. I think a team is going up 3-0 on them.
That's because if we are the 6th,
he doesn't want to say it. Like, he's like,
look who we're
facing. No. I was actually about to.
Let me add to that, because we're either facing the Nuggets, the Grizzlies, or the Kings. So what makes you think any of those 3 teams can 3-0 us right away? And the Nuggets are not good on the road either. They're not.
Hold you to less.
Here's the thing, though.
They're not good on the road either, the Nuggets.
I agree with Nat, and Nana probably agrees with me too. The postseason is a totally different season. And up until I see with my own eyes, the Warriors get totally defeated in 4 games out of a 7-game series, nobody's beating them 3-0 in the playoff. That's not happening until I see that with my own eyes, and I can say, we're getting totally dominated. That's not happening, because on the road you get 2 days rest plus a game plan.
Exactly.
It's not different than going in the regular season and like, we're just playing on the road. That's a totally different mind state. It's a totally different game plan, and I just can't see that happening because of their pedigree.
And the Warriors are one of the best teams in planning for people and game planning for them. They've proven this throughout. They are the only team. None of these other teams. They are the only team that have, in every playoff series they've ever played in, gone in and won a game. None of these other teams have that history. So why do you have I remember the year when KG and Paul Pierce went to the Nets. The Nets beat the Heat. The Nets beat the Heat in every regular season game that season. Yeah. You know how many they won in the postseason?
Nada. That was a bad year. Paul Pierce wish he had that year back.
That was a bad trade.
That was a very bad trade. But see, that's also the beauty of the NBA, because like everything you say is true, but everything is beholden to the past.
True.
Like this is why the main strategy for like Budenholzer, which comes from the pop tree, so this is a pop thing, this is a Kerr thing. Even Phil Jackson would say this because he said this. You get that first round bye, so you play at home. So that when you get that second round, you're playing at home. So if you happen to be the higher seed in the conference finals, you're playing at home. But really, it's that first series. Yeah. Because that's what's going to get you.
But you understand that if the Warriors play the Kings, that's a home game for them, right?
No, not this season.
Okay.
This season's different.
Okay.
Like, that's the problem.
It hasn't been different. As exciting as
it's the first time they've been in the playoffs in 20 years.
As exciting as the Kings are, and as exciting as their fan base is, they didn't even vote their guy into the All-Star game. Okay, like I'm telling you that the Warriors, it will be a home game for them. It will be lots of happy Kings fans there. But what I'm saying is, you're gonna see. It was just a home game in Atlanta for the Warriors. Like it's but I'm just saying, like, it's right down the road from Chase. You're going to see that arena filled, half of it at a minimum, with Warriors fans. And they also won't need to travel like that, which is a big thing versus if they got anyone else in the first round. They have to travel to Memphis. They just going right down the street if it's Sacramento.
I'm just letting you know, there are people not paying their SMUD bill right now to save up for those Kings Warriors.
I'm not saying that the Kings will not have fans in there.
I don't think he understands the impact of Steph Curry.
Yeah, I know they're hungry.
Gonna be a lot of Curry
fans. I know that they're hungry, all of that. What I'm saying though is that's gonna be like a home series for the Warriors if they end up going there. It's right down the street from San Francisco.
That's a 3-1. That's a 3-1, Chris.
Look, I understand like what you're saying.
If we get the Kings, it's 4-1.
Look. I love the faith and I love the fact that you are all 10 toes down here. But like the issue is the possibility. And like I just don't hear the acceptance of the possibility.
We've already acknowledged that at the very beginning.
You just said that you were gonna walk away beating the Kings.
The Kings aren't a factor, bro. Like
they don't even play defense. They go to
come on, man. Let's be for real. The Kings are a nice story.
The reason we're not taking a team like the Kings seriously is because when you're just relying on offense the entire game, right? Like we can say the Warriors haven't played great defense the whole season, but they've had stretches throughout this season where they've been a top 5 defense, right? Like the point is they've showed you when they want to, they can still do that. I've never seen the Kings show us that they can be a defensive team. They're just outscoring people and they have a potent offense. We all know that goes away in the postseason. So again, this is not about, because I love the Kings. I'm a big De'Aaron Fox fan, but that's why Mike Brown is concerned. He's like, y'all gotta, because like at some point, you got to play defense. When teams start to game plan for you, all that shit you're getting. It's in part why Jordan Poole is struggling this year, because teams are game planning for him now. And he still has to learn how to do that. And that's what I'm saying. These guys know what they're going to see in the postseason. These other teams, Denver, though, that little bubble they had, that wasn't real postseason play.
Can I ask you a question?
What's up?
What was the Golden State Warriors defensive rating or the ranking, not rating, but ranking their first championship year?
They were top.
Probably number one.
They were number one defense. They've always been like a top 1 or 2 defense.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you think they can get to that level this
I don't think they need to be that level. They need to be a top 10 defense, and they just need to play top 5 defenses at moments in the game and when to do that. And that's all they need to do.
And they already are top 5 at home right now. They're already top 5 at home right now. They just got to get that on the road.
Yeah, but
that's the problem.
Yeah, but they haven't had
like that's Jason's father. He knows exactly that's the problem.
No one's disputing that, but Chris, like their defense isn't going to be top 5 on the road when Andrew Wiggins isn't there. That's my point. Like if Andrew Wiggins is playing and GP2 is playing and they have their defensive guys, the defense is going to be better. So that's what we're saying. Like you're talking about a team when Jordan Poole is out there, and you're talking about a team, no disrespect to Jordan, but like it is what it is. You're talking about them when they got Anthony Lamb out there, and you're saying like they're not a top 5 defense. No shit, they're not going to be. They're not going to be with those.
No, I get it, but I'm just. Because I'm here. I'm with you. I get it. But you're not giving the same deference to the team that's obliterating defenses wherever they go.
Chris, do you get it? Like on the road is a game of runs, and the crowd is on the opposing team's side. Exactly. So when Anthony Lamb, like let's say, keeps over helping and lets 3 threes go in a row, 9 points is like 19 points on the road. That's the difference. It's not going to happen. Come like he's not playing those minutes. He's not going to be in these rotations. We're not going to play Jermichael Green and pull together, which I don't know why he does that all the time. We're already dead in the waters. We're not stopping nobody as soon as those two get on the court together. And they just attack both of them, and we can't guard on the inside. We can't guard on the outside. It always happens. So come playoff time, like that's going to change. And like Kuminga's going to get healthier, but he's coming off an injury. People don't know. He's going to be having a huge role. If there's one team that I believe can change the season around, is this team. And they have
but
given
it's
us
not
the
a road
evidence.
thing. It's not a road thing. It's the players on the court thing. And I think that's why I get so annoyed by the conversations, because it's just like, oh yeah, look, they suck. Well, no shit. Like there's people not playing. Like I just don't understand why. And again, it's only done with the Warriors. Because what do you hear about the Suns all the time? Man, when Kevin Durant comes, but they don't say like when the Warriors get their guys back.
I said the same thing that I would say if Curry was out. Like if KD doesn't play, they have zero chance.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the talk is like the Suns can be real when they get KD back. But no one says, oh, the Warriors can be real when they have their team intact. It's like, oh.
Now, what do you mean is it's not a road thing? Because it is a road thing.
What?
The Warriors.
No, when I say it's not a road thing, people are making this distinction like they just can't play on the road. And what I'm saying is the reason it happens is because of the players. We're missing guys. Listen, when you play on the road is about your stars stepping up, right? It's not about the role players stepping up. The role guys, they need home. They need the chairs. They need all that. And with the way that this team is constructed, they are not constructed in a way that they can withstand not having their full team and then go win on the road. And that's really the difference between this year and last year's team, right? So the biggest thing for the Warriors is that they need all their guys. Like before, you could be down an Andre Iguodala and it would hurt, but they could still win, right? And that's the difference. You cannot be down you can't be down to Andrew Wiggins and they're still going to win, right? Because outside of tonight, you've been seeing Steph perform and do what he does on the road, but you don't see some of those guys who show up at Chase always like performing on the road. And that's what I'm saying.
I got a counter to that. I get what you're saying. I'm glad you mentioned the stars. Put Steph aside because he has shown up this season on the road.
Mm-hmm.
Draymond and Clay. Like, let's put Wiggins to the side. I get Wiggins is not here. I get GP2. Draymond and Clay on the road. It's a conversation that needs to be had.
I agree.
Because you said the stars, because you're right. Because I know Dante hasn't been that great on the road. I know Paul hasn't been that good, but you're right. That's not their job. We're telling them to perform more than what their minimum. And like when you're asking role players to do more, like star player job, like that's when you got to throw your hands out. I'm saying right now, let's focus on Clay and Draymond. What have they been doing on the road? Because they have not been good at all. And they have just been escaping slander. Like we've been like, oh, Pool's doing this. Dante can't make a shot. Oh, Steve can't coach. But we're the two guys right there that I want to like.
Oh, they don't escape anything from me. I mean, I don't slander our guys, so that's not my style. But they're not above criticism for me. Yeah. What I will say about Dre, and it's not something that I love about him, but this is just how Dre is. He just doesn't show up for every game, and he tells us that on his podcast and all the time. So it sucks and I don't like it, but that's just what it is, but when Dre decides he wants to show up and does something, he does it. Right. And we know that. So it's just really a matter of, I just got to accept that that's what he's going to do. Like, it's not enjoyable to watch the Warriors. I want to make that clear. I'm not enjoying watching this season. It's not enjoyable, but it doesn't mean that I still don't know what their capabilities are.
Yeah, I know. And when you say like, when Dre doesn't show up, like I get it. His excuse used to be to like certain teams. That used to be his thing. Like, oh, this tanking team, I don't show up to. But now it's coming to like the big competitions on the road. Like that Clipper game, what he allowed Russell Westbrook to do really cost us the game. It's one thing to not let a player shoot the ball. I get it. Russ shoot all you want. It's another thing to keep letting him fly around, get all these offensive rebounds, and like give him like second, third, fourth chance. That's another ball game.
So here's the thing. I'm similar to Jason. I'm sorry, Jason. I'm gonna let you go. Jason and I have very similar views about Dre now. I don't express them as much on the timeline because I just don't talk about him that much because from the Jordan incident, I've sort of been over Dre. But the one thing I will say in fairness to Dre, like, we got to understand, because of the way the Warriors play and because their front court depth is so lacking, you're asking Dre to do a lot, and it's a big toll on his body, right? And so I just don't think it's realistic or fair to think and ask him to kind of show up in that way for every game of the season, for the entire game. That's why you needed more front court depth to help him. And it's him and Loon, really, and that's it. And then you're playing Lamb, or you're playing you don't want to play Kuminga, then you finally start to play him, but then you pull him and you yank him, and you don't want to give PBJ a shot, and it's all these things, but it's basically just Dre and it's Loon, and that's a lot. So while I don't agree with his approach, I also understand why he does what he does to preserve his body, because we need Dre for 16 games in the postseason. That's what we need him for. They got to get through the season. They got to get there, but that's what we need him for. And he's already pretty banged up.
Yeah, I'll echo everything Nat just said, to be quite honest with you. Draymond, what is it? This will be 9 years if we make the playoffs and go through the postseason to the finals. 9 years. It equals, like, my math is bad, but probably 3 additional seasons of play for Draymond, and not just regular play, high level play. He's helping, he's recovering his body. He had a back injury last year, which he's probably still dealing with this year. I think it's pretty remarkable that he's been available for this many games this year. It's a contract year. I know what he's doing. I know that he's being available so he can show that he's worth the money that he's going to demand in the offseason. That's fine, whatever. I don't care. But he's banged up. His body has been through a roller coaster of everything for the last 8 years. I think it's pretty naive to think that he's going to be Defensive Player of the Year, Draymond, for 82 games a year, every single year from this year going forward. So that being said, if he's good for 16, I'm happy with that, because 16 of Defensive Player of the Year, Draymond, I like our chances. And I think that's what he's preserving his body for, to Nat's point. I don't think we're, for the big matchups during the year, Christmas Day game, the rivalry games, he shows up. He showed up for the Memphis game on Christmas. He showed up for the Celtics game. He shows up for the big game. So you know what we have in Draymond. He's there still. But like you said the other day, a game in March, he don't care. He don't care. And that sucks, because I don't want to hear a player on my favorite team tell me, I don't care about this game, I'm not showing up. I don't want to hear that as a fan, but I understand. And they gave us 4 championships, so I'll give him that grace.
And the other thing about Clay, to your point, we've seen, and this is why it's so important what Jason said earlier about how they have so many nights off between games in the postseason and things like that, because we've actually seen Clay's performance between games. And I just think that it happens to be that it's been at home, but I think it would have been the same if they were on the road. But we've seen his performance when he's had like 2 nights off between games, the difference in his performance. This schedule in March is hell. They only have 1 night off between every game. So when I looked at it and saw, I said, man, this is going to be a tough stretch for the Warriors. So really, all we should be hoping is that they make it within the top 6, and that's it. But if you just know that the team is older, like, I could just see it tonight. Like Steph and Clay, they were just not like, they're just not getting up for this game. And so
you're making my argument for me.
No, I'm not, because what I'm saying is, like, they don't care about this right now. They only care about winning. And the postseason, when you have 2 nights off between games, is not the same. They will care then, because they care about winning another championship. They don't care about meeting y'all standards of, you got to win on the road.
It's not about meeting standards. It's about expectation. And y'all are expecting them to turn the light switch. They are expecting to turn the light switch. And I'm sitting here like, yo, the light switch has been turned.
No, it hasn't.
It has.
No, it hasn't.
Absolutely, it has.
No, when we're saying turn the light switch on, we're saying play a certain way and be locked in for the whole game consistently for a period of games. And we're saying, no, they haven't. Like, they turn it on for a game at a time. Oh, the Grizzlies want to talk shit.
No, I get that.
God wants to say, that's what we're saying. They're just like, okay, we got them back to back. The whatever.
It might be a bad philosophy what they're doing right now, Chris, which is none of this
we got this
matters. We'll turn it on when the playoffs.
But we all do that.
But we know that when they turn it on, it's a different ball game. It might be a bad thing.
We all do that in life. So this is why I don't understand criticizing them. Like, everyone can act like they show up for work in their best form every day, but like I don't. Like, when there's something I've been doing for a long time and I'm great at it, I don't approach it the same way as like in the beginning when I'm first hungry. Like, right now, I'm fiercely attacking my new job and career, and it gets all my time and my hours and everything. I'm telling you, that will not be it for the rest of my life. It doesn't mean that my work is going to become stuff.
Have they been good on the road at all at any point in the season?
They haven't had his guys
even in the beginning.
No. Okay. I want to just tell y'all something, because Steph, Wiggins, Clay, and Dre have missed a combined 80 games this season. 80 games. So it's like, you're saying, like, have they been good? But not. What I'm trying to tell you is they cannot withstand missing anybody. Like, that's what you're saying. Like, no, they haven't won. Have they been good is a different question, because even if you look at the games from earlier in the season to now, they've actually played better on the road. But the outcome is the same, but they've actually played better. So everyone is just upset that the outcome is the same, that they lost, but they actually have played better than they were playing better in the season.
Forget about the outcome. How about in the game when you watch them like today?
Yes, they've had moments of playing well.
How they have guarded that 3-point line.
They have not the 3-point line well all season, but
that's where I'm at.
They didn't last year either, Nana. Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
This is different though. But right now, teams are like, Draymond's out here poking them via podcast. They're gonna come in here.
We did that last season.
And then it's
we literally did the same thing last season. Like, y'all are acting like there's a difference. Draymond was talking shit on that podcast last season.
I am not.
Yeah,
I am not. I'm saying that you are banking on them, who have missed X amount of games already playing together, to go.
Yes, because why would I think? It's like me and my best friend. Sometimes I don't talk to her for a year. And you know what? When we get together, the jokes and the chemistry is all the same. You're thinking that Steph, Clay, Dre, and Wiggins need all this time to like reacquaint themselves with one another. And I'm saying that
be fine.
And GP2 has been on this team already. So when people are just, it's not like Kevin Durant joining the Suns and never having played with them before. These are guys who have played together and who have won together. So yes, am I banking on 4 guys having chemistry who've done it before? Yes. Like, to me, I think it's weird that y'all are like, they need to get into shape. That part I get. Like, get up to speed and get their bodies that. But when people are like, they haven't played, and it was stupid last year. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, Steph and Clay and Dre haven't played, so it's going to be an issue. They've been playing their whole fucking careers together. It was bizarre to me when people made that statement, and it's bizarre to me now. What do you think is going to happen when Andrew comes back? He needs like 50 games to get acquainted with his teammates. He needs to get his conditioning back up, but they already know how to play together.
I know they know how to play together.
I'm just saying.
I'm not questioning that they know how to play. I'm just questioning them enabling this bad habit behavior. At some point, you got to say bad habits could follow you along. So you got to like cut it while you can. Like, you can't just say bad habits. That's my only thing. I'm like, enough of this bad habits, because it's not about conditioning, age, and nothing for you to guard that 3-point line. Okay, it's just a bad habit. It's just you saying
it's not new. And the way y'all talk is like it's new. It was the same thing last season. They didn't go back and look. They didn't guard the 3 well last year either.
Yeah, but we covered it up in a different area. We covered it up too. Like, if we didn't guard the 3-point very well, we weren't rebounding this badly. We weren't like, because we're doing a bunch of things together. At a bunch of bad habits.
Why aren't we rebounding well? Why is that happening?
because we're very small, because he plays a very small lineup.
Exactly. Andrew hasn't been out there. GP2 used to also help with that. He wasn't there. And the auto replacement didn't pan out, right? Yeah. So that's my point. That's why they're not rebounding well. But now when you get everyone back on the court together and you do have Andrew out there and you have some of those other guys, then they get back to being a better team because that's what they are. They don't have one guy who's just like their rebounder, but as a team, the Warriors collectively have always been a good rebounding team, but they don't have the players on the court to do that. It all goes back to who they have on the court. So y'all are like, well, they're not doing what they did last year. Well, yes, those guys are not playing, so you're not going to see that.
Can I ask you three a question?
Go ahead.
What I want your reaction. What is your reaction when you hear this? At the 5:42 mark in the second quarter, JaMychal Green and Anthony Lamb are checking in for Andrew Wiggins and Draymond Green.
No, that doesn't make me feel
in
good.
The playoffs.
Yeah, in the playoffs. That don't make me feel
good. No,
that's not happening.
That doesn't make me
okay. You don't think there's a chance of that happening if Andrew Wiggins doesn't come back?
Kind of slow, so maybe there's like a slight chance, but no, that. I don't know in what world that would be possible.
Draymond Green was playing like shit, and it took Kerr everything to even bench him, and he only did it on offense, defense. Like, Kerr is going with his guys. Kerr would play Andre Iguodala on a broken leg before he would go to he would. I don't think you understand Kerr.
No, I think the question is valid.
He will do the bullshit all season. But let me tell you, Andrew is playing. He's playing like JaMychal Green and Lamb are not taking Wiggins minutes. That's not happening.
Jason, you lean forward because you know exactly what I'm saying. Like, it can happen. There's a possibility.
I believe that Anthony Lamb will be getting playoff minutes. Absolutely. In the first round. But as we go forward, probably not. But in the first two rounds.
But that's not what he's saying. And I've already acknowledged that. Belly was not taking Andrew Wiggins minutes. He's getting minutes the way Belly was getting minutes. They're sparingly. And it's like, it's not like, oh, let me sub. Like, I don't even know. Like, JaMychal Green will also see some minutes, but like he said, it'll be in the first round. Once they get to like the better teams and later, you're not seeing those guys.
If
you stopped seeing Jordan Poole last year in the playoffs, let me remind you of that. Like, he's playing his main guys.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I don't even fuck with Kerr, but I know how he gets come postseason. So what you're saying is just not happening.
I'm a Kerr stan. I'm a Kerr stan.
He has a love affair with Lamb, but he had a love affair with Belly too. But it was still there was an end to its point.
It's always that one player he has a love affair with for no
reason.
Like Brad Wanamaker.
Yes, every year,
every year is that one guy. You'd be like, what is your problem?
Okay,
but to Chris's point though, I think our depth at times looks really good because JaMychal Green at times he looks good. He's beasting in the paint, getting rebounds, blocking shots, but more often than not, he's fouling. He's in position. He's playing bad defense. Anthony Lamb at times he can make shots. He's really crafty around the rim. I do like that about him, but if he's not making shots, he's terrible. And in the playoff series, if I see Anthony Lamb and JaMychal Green getting checked in for Wiggins and Draymond, I have no faith that that's going to turn out well. Zero faith that that's going to turn out well.
Right.
Even JaMychal Green and Jordan Poole together, I have no faith.
No. We can't do that. No.
And by the way, let me say this. When that will happen is not going to be on the road. That's going to be in Chase, where the Chase crowd will elevate those guys to play better, and so Kerr can spare some minutes because that's when JaMychal Green starts hitting threes. That's when that happens. It's not going to be on the road.
Okay. Yeah. I just look. They're in the 7th seed, right? Like, this wasn't supposed to happen
I don't
in the
want
first
anyone
place.
talking to me about seeding until it's done.
I don't care about the seeding. I'm saying
the records are like tied. Every day someone flip-flops. Right? No one has 4 through 13, there's no real seed right now.
But again, the seeding. I'm only stating that the current seeding that they're at wasn't supposed to happen.
Why not?
At least not considering to Warriors fans at the beginning of the season, was it?
Hold on.
Did you put yourself at 7 at the beginning of the season?
That was not supposed to happen either.
No, that's not true. Every prediction for the Warriors that we ever make is always barring
them being healthy.
It's barring
again, I'm not living in this world of barring health, because if the playoffs start and they're not healthy, the playoffs still start.
Yeah, but that's what the point is.
At the beginning of the season,
based on the teams. No, but you have to. Everything we're saying about the team is based on them being intact. So there's no one here that has not acknowledged that if they don't have Wiggins back, that they're not doing anything. So we've said that. But when you say no one expected this, well, no, I wouldn't expect that.
He's forgetting one important thing, two important things. Forget Steph, Dre, and Clay health-wise. Put them to the side. The other two players not playing, GP2, Portland organization lied about his health, okay? We were expecting a healthy player on that court. And Andrew Wiggins is out for personal reasons, things that would not really be a factor pre-prediction. Like, so when you bring up this stuff, like, those two players make a big difference.
That's part of my thing is, like, you are banking on everything having to go right.
No, we're not saying that. But you're saying that now. Earlier, you were not saying that. All you were saying is they're 7th seed. They don't win on the road. Again,
I don't have your stance now.
I'm just bringing up another point. Like, this not changing my stance. I don't think the Warriors have got it this year.
I don't have a problem with arguments where people are like, I don't think the Warriors have it because they're missing so many guys. Because of that, but you're not doing that. You're just like, they don't got it this year. That's this.
No, I'm laying out, and you're just not accepting it because of a belief that you think they're going to win 16 games in the postseason.
You're saying
despite
that
not really playing with each other for the majority of the
season. Do you give us a chance if we're all healthy?
If you're all healthy, yeah, of course. I give you like a 1 in 5 chance.
It's not a 1 in 5 chance because
it's a 1 in 5 chance.
GP2's coming back soon, and Andrew Wiggins is just
that's fine. Let him believe it's a 1 in 5 chance. Let them.
I mean, it's.
I never care.
Injury or
something. If healthy, can win a championship. 1 in 5.
I never care about what people think. Let them. If they believe that the Warriors, if they're intact, there's no one. The only team that's a real threat to them is the Bucks. That's it. I'm sorry. I don't even believe it's the Sixers. All due respect for Embiid. And
I will never be scared of James Harden.
Because if it's always a factor. Like,
even Embiid, like, Matt, don't forget.
It's only a factor until it
No, it was a factor last year, Chris, because literally people were telling me, I used to be in your spaces where people were like, the Warriors ain't doing nothing, and this is the best team, and they were all in on the Suns and all this bullshit. And I would come in there with my, you know how I am, my ignorant ass, and I'd be like, oh, really? Y'all just want to discount Wardell? You want to discount all these things? So it's always an if. And you were like, Natalie, and then it was, look at the shooting slump this year. He's not the same player. And what did I keep saying? Okay.
We were up 3-1 on Dallas, and they were saying Luka's making that comeback.
I went on TV and I said, everyone was coming in there talking about, Luka's the best player in the series. The Mavs are going to push the Warriors. I even did a pod with SJ and all of them, and I said, I got to tell you, I think this is a 5-game series. I think it's a 5-game series. I went on TV with Michael Holley on Brother from Another, and I said, yeah, I get it. Cool story with the Mavs. People think this is going to be a long series. And he goes, people think it's going to be a long series, but you don't think it's going to be a long series. I said, I don't. I think it's a 5-game series. For every Warriors series, the length of time that it would be, I called and I was correct. Every single one. Was that me just being a fan, or does it mean that I actually understand basketball? Because I think I
last season or this season,
but it's I'm doing the same thing this season. So when it pans out the way that I say, then I want you to come back on and humble yourself and say how you.
Oh, absolutely.
Remember who was that guy? Green, whatever. What was his handle? He used to come up in the space.
Green Dot. Green Dot.
Do y'all remember who he was, Nana?
I think it was Green Dot.
No, Green something. And he used to come in there with the Celtics. Oh, y'all not doing this. And remember after they won
is that
after they won the first game?
BB Green?
Uncle
BB
Bleed
Green?
Green. It's Uncle
BB
Bleed
Green?
I don't remember his handle.
No, I'm telling you what it is.
Jason, do you remember how those Celtics fans were acting after they won the first
game? Oh,
absolutely. Do you remember how everybody was acting?
Absolutely.
I was at a Celtic watch party. It was phenomenal.
Like everything in the past allows you to have this faith. And I'm happy for you as a fan base.
It's more logical than having faith.
It's like we see the sun come up every day at a certain time. And until the sun doesn't come up, we're always going to believe the sun's going to come up because we have.
Well, they used to think the Earth was the center of the universe. Like, you know, times change.
Until we see the defeat, we're not going to accept that it's defeat.
I'm not asking you to accept it. All I said was a possibility. You refuse to accept the possibility. That's the issue I have.
Everything
like you're the seventh seed for a reason.
Everything is a possibility, Chris.
Anything's possible.
Use that logic.
Yeah, all right, we're gonna use the KG line. All right.
Everything is a possibility.
Anything is possible.
Anything is possible. Like it's like every other team has missed players. Every other team has gone through crap this season, and every other team
though doesn't have
pedigree.
More than half their bench being young guys. And more than half of those, all those teams don't have their coach insisting on playing two-way players over their development. There were things happening with the Warriors that are not happening.
Have you seen Doc Rivers coach this year? Because that's all he's done. Like,
no, but that's one. That's
There's
one.
a lot that happened in the Golden State from the start of the season.
Right.
Oh, I get that. I get that. I'm not discounting
which, by the way, are all valid reasons to doubt the team. But I would respect if people just said, like, look, y'all had drama with Draymond and Poole.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all had all this stuff happen. Like, everything has to basically be perfect for y'all to come back and win.
That's what I just said.
No, that's not. You're just like, y'all, this is your record on the road. Like that. But
you are banking on everything going perfect.
No, I'm not banking on everything going perfect, but I'm banking on right now all the timelines for everything that they're saying is that we will have our guys back. The only thing that we don't know is about Andrew, and he's a real question because we really don't know. But even Bob Myers has said their expectation is Andrew will be back before the season ends. They don't expect him to miss the whole season. So I don't know if that's the last game or what, but everything I've heard is that at some point Andrew will return this season and they expect that GP2 will come back to play, right? And so yes, based on the timelines and when players return, my expectation is that they're coming back. And yes, I know that that doesn't leave them with a long time to play, but like, I know that with this team, that doesn't matter that much. So it's not that I expect things to go perfect. It hasn't gone perfect, but there's no reason for me to doubt that those guys are not coming back. So why would I?
It's like getting pancakes.
I'm not banking on everything being perfect, but I am banking on it.
I want to tell you guys about flawed processes and what Nana said, and then we'll end because we've gone long and we didn't even talk about the games. But I think this was a much more.
I don't want to talk about those games.
Yeah.
You don't want to talk about those games because they highlight everything that's wrong.
Go ahead.
I just think this is a more fun conversation, but flawed process, like you said, Nana, is like you just do the same things over and over and then it doesn't pan out. Okay. Well, let me tell you something. I am a habitual line stepper when it comes to getting ready and going to the airport. I will never give myself enough time to get to the airport. And then I have Clear now and TSA pre-check and everything that allows me to walk through. So I push the boundaries of my limits. And every time I say, I'm not going to do this again, it's the last time. And then I do the same shit over and over. And I think maybe only once I've actually missed the flight. So it's like, when it keeps working for you, you're going to keep doing it. You know what I'm saying? And it's the same with anything else. And by the way, I also have ADHD. And I say that because people who have ADHD can procrastinate, and people don't understand like why they do that. Like my mother, it drove her crazy my whole life. You have to prepare. You got to do this. I remember when I had to sit down and do my scholarships for school and write the letter. And I remember for University of Miami, it's due tomorrow and you haven't even started working on it. And guess what? I did it the night before and I got a scholarship. It's always worked for me. That works for me. And so it's very easy for us, because we're fans and we want to enjoy the product that we're watching, to sit and say that this is what they're supposed to do. But I'm not going to doubt the champions who have won, like, on their process, even if I don't like it, because they've won it and they've done it, right? And you hear players like Shaq say, he never expresses. Guys who have won it multiple times, the only people questioning it and saying it's not possible and it's all these things and they look shaky are fans, are people who don't play, the people who have done it. And I'm not one to defer to players on everything. I'm not. But it's just like when Steph Curry was like, he identified what's wrong in his shot and everyone was just like, no, he's in decline. I'm not going to question the person who's the best at shooting a basketball ever in the history of the game on how to fix his shot, what he needs to do. If he says he identified the problem and he's going to fix it, that's it. It's just certain things I'm not going to question. I am not going to question 4-time champions on their process throughout the season. Now, if it all goes wrong and they fail, then, and it doesn't mean that I think everything is great. And it doesn't mean that I don't think there have been some failings by the organization, because I do. But what I'm just saying is, and I know you at least believe this, Nana, I do believe Stephen Curry is that great that he can overcome a lot of the other shit, because I think he's that great of a player, which is why when the fans and everyone freaks out about it, I'm like, y'all don't think Steph is as great as y'all claim y'all do. Because if you did, you would trust that he could do, because I don't think Steph Curry, that's why I do get mad when people put some of these other players in his league, because I truly don't think Embiid or Jokic is in that category yet. I don't care how they've been playing all season. They're not that level of player. You know what I'm saying? And it's debatable whether Kevin Durant really is too, to be honest, though he's up there. So it's like there was like LeBron, and then now has come Steph. And when I say that, like, they're just a different level of ceiling raiser kind of player. And I don't really think there's another player in the league like that. And so when you have that level of talent on the court, I think he covers up a lot. I really do. And that's my belief in him.
I was never worried about Steph. It's what's around Steph.
No, but Steph covers up for that. Remember, Draymond and those guys. Andrew Wiggins was his second best player in the Boston, right? It wasn't Dre. It wasn't Clay.
But was Andrew Wiggins supposed to be his second best player?
No, but what I'm saying is, who would ever think in a series when Andrew's the second best? He didn't even average 20 in that series. Didn't even average 20, though he was great on defense. That based on that, the Warriors would still win a championship, but it was because of Steph. It was because of his greatness. And that's my point.
I agree with you, but I'm saying, like, even though he's covering a lot more this season, but we've seen things that even that's not enough. Like scoring 50 twice this year and losing, like that's I don't care anybody.
But he's done that when he didn't have the whole team with him.
Yeah, I understand.
That didn't happen when he had everybody with him. So
I know when everybody comes back
and say we understand that, and then be like, but they should still win. Like this team cannot.
I'm not worried about Wiggins and stuff. I'm like I said to you, it's me on the other two core of the three, the Clay and Draymond. You don't think at any chance? I know obviously there's some physical decline, but how much of that do you think is a factor versus just history stuff?
I don't think Clay's body can manage playing a game every other night. That's what I think. And I think in the postseason, that's not.
Neither can Draymond, to be honest.
Right. But if you go and you look at their performance when they've had more time in between games, they've been excellent. So when Chris says that's making his point, I don't get what he's saying, because that's not an issue come the postseason. They have.
What about in the postseason though, Nat? How great was Clay in that postseason run?
No, but that was last year's post. Clay
exactly. That was last year. Like
that's what I'm telling you. Like with
Clay,
like
wasn't that great last year. He had moments. What I'm saying is Clay's actually playing better this season.
Exactly.
Like,
he's actually better this season.
Right. Now that Clay has hit his form, he can't defend some of the faster guards anymore. But this is the closest Clay has gotten.
It's not even that's not my problem with Clay not defending the faster guards. It's
no, I know that's not your problem. My point of Nana is that he looks the closest he's looked to being pre-Clay this season. And what I'm saying is you get that when he has 2 nights off between games. You get that when his body has the longer time to recovery. And so what I'm saying is you will see that when Clay gets that time off, because in between postseason games, they have that kind of time. And what I'm saying is during the season, they're not. His body is not recovering with 1 night of rest. That's my point. And it's certainly not recovering on a back-to-back. So you're not going to get that. That's my point.
I agree. But I also think he has to get into the film sessions and fundamentals because some of the mistakes he's making on defensively is just the guy not being in the correct spot. Like we watched today, like bro, you were supposed to be on the opposite side of the court. What are you doing on this side? Like that has nothing to do with physical. It's more on like you're not prepared.
That's fatigue too.
Yeah, like I'm like, and it happened. Like if you watch today's game, I count 6-7 times where he lost his guy. Like completely.
There is an element of Clay that I think we all know that he wants to prove to everybody that he's still the same Clay. And there was a time, because there have been plenty of postseasons where Clay did not perform like he did in the regular season, but he still locked in on defense and did all the things he did on defense. And he doesn't do that anymore, not consistently and not regularly. You'll have him do it for like, you know, he kind of does this silliness for a few games, then he locks back in for a few games. And that's just what it's going to be over the course of the 82 season. I don't worry about that in the postseason. I think he's going to lock in for each game for the postseason. And so, like I said, I don't enjoy the process and I'm not excusing it. Y'all see me rant on Twitter. I do my podcast and I break down each game and I criticize them. Like I criticize those bullshit shots that Steph and Clay took at the end of the Atlanta game when they're down.
Like there was 5
and then
seconds left on the clock.
Kerr going on there talking about, oh, those are good shots. No, the fuck they are not. So I don't like root and cheer for everything that they do. But what I'm saying is once we get past all that and explain what happened, at the end of the day, I know why it's happening. As a fan, I don't enjoy watching it, but I know why it's happening. And no, I don't expect that to be what happens because like me, like many people, and maybe you guys don't operate like this. So like my mother, she doesn't. My mom plans for everything early. She always follows the proper procedure. She does what she's supposed to. So I would frustrate the shit out of her the way that I did my thing. But when it's time to lock in, when it's go time, I have the ability to do that. And that's just how some people operate. So that's why I get it. I get how they are. And I don't mean as a champion, obviously, because I've never won that. But I'm just saying, like, the way that I've approached things that I've done in life, there's no job you're ever going to speak to about me who's ever going to say that I wasn't a high performer. But if you ask other people about my process and how I approached it, it's not as like studious as people think it may be. I mean, I would love to tell y'all how I approached the bar exam. I shouldn't have passed. I really should not have passed the bar exam, but I did my Natalie thing, and that's what works for me. So, but there were a lot of shortcuts. There were a lot of things I didn't do that you should do. And if I would have not passed the bar exam, it would have been on me, and I would have had to own that. But it did work for me because that's what works for me. And the way that I cut corners in my brain, it works for me and I still excel. But everyone else can't do that, you know? And as a fan, it's not enjoyable for me to watch the product that they put out on the court. But these guys have won at the highest level repeatedly. And I just don't think it's rational for us to expect them to perform like at a postseason level throughout the regular season anymore. I just think we need to understand we're not going to get that anymore.
Yeah, no, I agree 1,000% in that. And that's why my approach, I get up like you, I don't like what I'm watching. today was ass. That was ass. I don't like what I'm watching, but I understand, they're not 25 years old anymore. Steph is 35. Draymond is 33. Clay is 32. I remember when I was 35. I think I remember when I was 35. I was still hooping, but it wasn't like I was 25. It's not going to happen anymore. That 73 win pace is never going to happen anymore with these guys. Most likely, and this is kind of my beef with Steve. I feel like Steve sabotaged this season when he went with the all young guy lineup for that 10 games in the beginning of the season.
Yes.
Because he knew that was not going to work. He knew it wasn't going to work, but in my opinion, I feel like he was trying to prove a point.
Kuminga for no reason.
He was trying to prove a point.
He was trying to prove that this going young and timeline thing wasn't
he sabotaged everything. And he ruined the confidence of Moody. He ruined the confidence of JK. But JK is so awesome that it didn't break him completely. But he ruined the confidence of Wiseman.
It didn't break Poole either, but he almost ruined Poole like that too, doing the same thing.
And that's on Steve. So as much as I love Steve, I'm going to say that a lot of the reason for the things happening this season, the bad things happening, it's his fault. Because he started the season off trying to prove a point, and he ruined the confidence of the young guys, which if he would have sprinkled the young guys in like he's doing now with the veterans and correct rotations, I believe Draymond could have some time off so he wouldn't be injured. Looney could have some time off so he couldn't be injured. Steph and Clay. But he didn't do that. And because of that, we're at the position we're at. So I don't like blaming people in sports, but if I had to put some blame on somebody, I put it solely in Steve's lap for this season.
And we all agree with that. Like what he did at the beginning of the season, really, because then the injuries came and everything came. And then now people are like, but no, look, they weren't even winning at the beginning of the season. I'm like, no, you don't understand. They were playing well at the beginning of the season, but that was the James Wiseman experimentation time. And so they were doing a lot of stuff, but like, that's gone. But then after that, it was injury after injury after injury after injury. And so I get how it sounds. I do. I get when someone on the outside listening sounds, it sounds like we're making a lot of excuses, but that's the reality of what happened. Absolutely. And so when you take a step back from being emotional as a fan and being frustrated and just objectively look at it, it's really not that complicated. So when I hear everyone saying like, oh, this team, they just don't got it, ain't the same. Y'all are just like, y'all really are not paying attention to what's happening. And you're also not paying attention to like what happened last year, because it's literally the same team that we saw after they started having injuries. They were a 500 team for the bulk of the season. And I explicitly remember people saying the same thing. They're not going to win, not this team. Warriors fans and outsiders. And it's literally, that's all you're seeing. The team you're seeing right now is the team you saw for the second half of last season. And the only thing that's different is that they didn't have that early start. And they didn't have that early start because they didn't have like that long patch of home games. And also they were experimenting. And that's the difference. And that's all that boils down to. Absolutely. They're really not that drastically different than last year.
Absolutely.
Just enough.
So anyway, listen, it's been almost 90 minutes and we normally only go 45, but I do appreciate you guys staying with me. This was an exhilarating conversation. We sort of ganged up on Chris, which is not what I expected to happen, but it did. And it was fun. And I appreciate you being our punching bag, not intentionally, but you took one for the rest of the other NBA people who think Warriors fans are crazy and just homers. So you fought the good fight, not very well, but you know.
I disagree. I think this is going to get out there. They're going to be like, yo, Chris is right.
I think Chris is holding it down.
Well,
he took all three of them on.
The haters are going to agree with you because they're haters. And I know you're not a hater. I know you genuinely believe this, just like you believe all of your food takes, and that you, for whatever reason, believe in the Knicks, which makes no sense to me. But that's why I will always talk with you, because you genuinely believe these things, even if I think they're crazy. So Chris, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. I
It.
appreciate you. Nana, thank you so much for being here, and also for not being one of those fans who's just like out on the team and, you know, talking shit about, you know, Wardell after every game and all of that. Like, that shit is whack.
You know, I'm unanimous corporation. You don't got to ask me twice. CEO of that corporation.
And shout out to the OG Jason, because, you know, you just are like, whatever, they still winning.
Me and Nat had a conversation before this season even started, and I was like, we winning it all. And I'm not wavering that. I'm not wavering. Until I see it, I can't waver. I got to see it. I got to see it.
There you go.
It's always barring injury, but otherwise, nah, I got them in the finals again.
I don't know how you lose hope with a team that has Steph Curry in it. So
exactly.
That's just my thing. So, like, you know.
You don't lose hope. You just face reality.
Okay, well, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see where the Knicks end up in all of this. But
hey.
Chris, what team? I don't even know what fan.
He's a Sixers fan.
I'm a Sixers fan. Yeah.
You're a Sixers fan?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Is that.
You never post about the Sixers.
You know, well, dude, that's a whole other story that would take another 90 minutes.
All right. Well, we're gonna bring this band back together.
Absolutely, please.
This was so much fun, and I don't really do spaces anymore, so this was fun. So we can like bring us four back together to talk again. Appreciate y'all. Thank you for those of you who listened and stayed with us. This is Golden Spaces. You're tuned into. We missed Justin, but it was still a fun conversation.
Shout out, Justin. Thank you for having us, Nat. Really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. Make sure you follow. Tell them each your handles before you go, so they know where to follow you.
Ladies first.
HoopSpaces. It's real easy.
See, Chris gonna go before the lady. That's crazy.
Go ahead, Jason. What's yours?
No, ladies first.
Mine is Boy Don't Try Me on Twitter. So
spell the way that it sounds, Nana.
It really sounds like that. Boy Don't Try Me. BOYDONTTRYME. Like
two T's.
Yeah, two guys. Sorry, I'm recovering from surgery. I can't really spell right now.
Okay, two T's. And Jason, yours?
It's my name, Jason T. Battle. That's it.
There you go. There you go. At HoopSpaces, at Jason T. Battle, and at Boy Don't Try Me with two T's. And she really means that. She will go at y'all, okay? So thank you for tuning in. Follow. We're on Twitter and Instagram at Golden Spaces Pod. Leave a review. Give us 5-star ratings. Tell your friends about us. We appreciate the support. It's an Odyssey original podcast. Take care, y'all. Have a good night.